All right, here we go with the urinary system, chapter 11. This chapter is on the short side in terms of the number of slides that are here, but don't let that minimize the importance or the fascination of the system. Without it, we would not survive very long. You're talking weeks maybe, if that, if your kidneys all of a sudden decided to shut down, and maybe shorter than that if you were to receive no medical attention. And the importance of the system really is focused in on the kidneys. These organs, and you have two of them, but you're supposed to have two of them, are so incredibly important in maintaining homeostasis throughout the body. So what we're going to do is review the different organs within the system. You should be able to familiarize yourself with their functions, and then we'll look more specifically at the kidney in terms of their ability to produce urine. So here are your list of objectives. Not too big, or not too long, but you have several bullet points that you want to make note of. And then also, objective 4, understand how the kidneys actually work. So you want to be able to define the following terms: the nephrons, the glomerulus, reabsorption, secretion, the loop of Henle, and why those words are important. So the overall functions of the urinary system, there are 3 of them. The first is going to be excretion of metabolic waste. All right, so the digestive tract has the intestinal tract that pulls food out. The colon is going to be there to actually create fecal material, and the role is to get rid of that. All right, and that is waste that our bodies pull in. However, our cells are always going through metabolism, and they're always doing things, and when they do things or go through those chemical reactions that are involved in metabolism, they're going to create waste. And some of these wastes are going to be urea, creatinine, ammonia, uric acid, and those all have to be eliminated so that they don't build up. All right, we also want to maintain the proper water-salt balance of the blood. And the blood is going to be filtered through the kidneys. And the kidneys, if they're working properly, the nephron is going to do an excellent job at pulling out excess salt, maybe even excess water, and putting that as one of the major components of urine. All right, and then also in those overall processes of excretion and maintenance of the water-salt balance, it's going to maintain the pH of the blood to try to keep the pH slightly basic, slightly alkaline at 7.4, and this is going to be that perfect number for homeostasis. So, as I mentioned, the excretion component, the majority of all metabolic wastes are removed from the body due to the action of the kidneys. It's not the colon, it's not your fecal material, but rather the urine and the kidneys. All right, so quick overview of the urinary system, the major components of it. This is going to be figure 1. You have 4 major organs within the urinary system. The slide explains the very basic function of each organ, and I do believe this is one of the questions in your extra credit assignment. And what you'll see is that the adrenal gland at the top of the kidney is not part of the urinary system, but rather it is part of the endocrine system, but it actually plays an important role in the overall function of the kidneys and overall function of maintaining proper water balance within the cardiovascular system, within the blood, which helps with blood pressure and blood volume. So that is why it's included, actually pointed out in this figure, because the major chemical that it secretes for this function is going to be aldosterone, and it directly affects the function and the activity of the kidneys. So Both aldosterone and the kidneys, major role in maintaining blood pressure. But when we talk about the specific organs, we have the kidneys here that produce the urine. The ureters, again, you have two that transport the urine. The bladder, or sometimes referred to as the urinary bladder, stores urine, and you only have one. And then the urethra, again, only one, passes urine to the outside of the body. All right, now, very basic here. The kidneys recycle about 45 mils of blood, plasma, per minute through up to 1 million nephrons. The nephrons are going to be the actual working unit of the kidney. And the kidney has three major parts. All right, you have the renal cortex, the renal medulla, and then you have the renal pelvis. And the renal pelvis is going to be the innermost hollow region, all right, this area here, where the urine is going to be collected and drained down into the ureters. And as the title mentions, all right, the kidneys, when you look at it at the microscopic level, all right, have about 1 million nephrons each. So you have about 2 million nephrons. And so each minute your body, via the kidneys, can process about 90 mils of blood. And by just visualizing it, my guess is that's going to be between 6 and 8 ounces. That gives you a better idea. About a cup of blood, just maybe under a cup of blood each minute. So that's very important. All right, so then how does the nephron form form urine? You've got the glomerular capsule here, and then on the inside of it, you actually have the nephron itself. So, small molecules in the plasma enter the glomerulus up here. All right, you've got the enter point here, and you have the exit point. And the blood is going to move through the different components of the nephron, and material is going to move out. And so you have a list of items here: water, urea, glucose, amino acids, which when you think about amino acids, you can think about that as protein, uric acid, and different salts. So this process is going to begin the process of what's called filtration. All right, and then wanted chemicals can return to blood by diffusion, and then also what we call active transport. And all of this is going to occur through this process here. All right, and fluid moves out, and it moves through all of these different tubes. You have the loop of Henle here, and continued reabsorption as all of that moves through. And then finally, at the very end, you have the distal tubule here. This is where material is going to move through and actually be transported over to be created into urine. All right, so urine formation itself, you have the glomerular filtration. All right, that's going to occur here. You're actually at the renal cortex at this point. Then you have tubular reabsorption. All right, so everything falls out of the blood here, moves through this tubule, and then what the arrows are showing is this reabsorption process. All right, and then it continues to go through, and then you have the collecting duct. And anything that is still in the collecting duct is going to move into the urine, or basically move into the bladder in the form of urine. And that's the secretion part, or tubular excretion. All right, so then overall homeostasis. All right, what does this mean to the body in general? The kidneys keep the blood pH within the normal limits. And on the previous slide, you saw the value of 7.4, and that's very important. But you've got a very small range of proper pH. So that's going to be around 7.35 to 7.45. Outside of that, you're either going to be acidic or you're going to be basic. And your body's going to start to see that or feel that effect. So the kidneys will reabsorb the bicarbonate. They're going to excrete hydrogen. And so here they're going to maintain the proper pH by getting rid of excess acid, those hydrogen, and absorbing bicarbonate, a base, to neutralize the acid. All right, kidneys also maintain the proper water-salt balance of blood. So therefore, the blood volume and the blood pressure are affected, but hopefully they are going to be maintained to normal levels. All right, now this acid-base balance is important. And here you see the capillary, where you have acidic materials, all right, those hydrogen. And then in the kidney tubule, you have the hydrogen that bind to ammonia here. And so that's going to be waste product. But then you have the bicarbonate, which can be reabsorbed in the blood. Again, both of these processes are going to create this buffer system. And that's a chemical or combination of chemicals that can take up excess hydrogen or excess OH ions and maintain proper pH. All right, so when hydrogen are added to blood, you create hydrogen or carbonic acid. That's going to lower the pH. When OH ions are added to blood, you create bicarbonate. This is going to be the base, and then you have extra water. All right, to simplify, the kidneys absorb or reabsorb the bicarbonate ions and excrete the hydrogen if needed. And that process is going to simply play right into that maintenance of homeostasis. All right, if your kidneys do not function properly, you can have hemodialysis, you can have peritoneal dialysis. And that is simply going to be a filtering process that mimics the proper function of the kidneys. I've got a slightly different picture here than what I have, but what this person is going through is she is undergoing hemodialysis, so this has to do with blood. And she has tubes that are in her arm here that are going to take the blood out, run it through this dialysis machine, and then run it back into her arm. So it's going to pull out all the garbage over here, put the clean blood back into her. All right, so here's the final product, or the final picture that you see. The hemodialysis here, and then the peritoneal dialysis here. This is done in sometimes in the hospital or in an outpatient setting, but also can be done at home, where the fluid gets pushed into or drains into the peritoneal cavity through a catheter of some sort, and it just kind of sloshes around in your peritoneal cavity, and then gravity, you can hook up and empty or just drain this one, and that fluid comes out and it's going to pull the garbage, and those are the little dots you see there. All right, kidney stones. Here in the notes section, you will have the process of developing kidney stones and some information on that, but there are 3 steps to developing kidney stones. One is supersaturation of a salt. Then that saturation has to solidify or to precipitate, and then you grow the kidney stone. And sometimes those kidney stones are large enough to be seen by x-ray. This is centimeters, so this is huge. And the last slide is looking at how the urinary system helps with maintaining homeostasis.